It was 24 years ago that Milosevic trial started in this building behind me. And if you would go now to old historical images, this whole square here was full of satellites of all world media. You couldn't even go through the crowd of journalists. It was the breaking news in the whole world. And now, 24 years afterwards, we have similar situation with Kosovo specialist chambers, where the leaders of Kosovo, wartime leaders, opponents of the Milosevic regime, are holding their closing argument in a criminal case lodged against them. First of all, Milosevic was for almost 10 years president either of Serbia and later of Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. In these times, there were 3 consecutive wars where major mass atrocities and crimes happened. And after 1995, when Milosevic was one of the architects of Dayton Peace for Bosnia, he had a chance to rehabilitate himself. Because we remember the photos in Paris from December 1995, where he was shaking hands with Izetbegovic, president of Bosnia, Franjo Tuđman, president of Croatia, and Bill Clinton. And somehow, he did not sustain his position on the good side of history. He couldn't let Kosovo go, and going into the Kosovo War, he became cemented in the history of the world as a bad guy, as a guy who basically had political power, abused it, and was responsible for mass atrocities. So first he was indicted for Kosovo, because, you know, after Dayton, he thought, I'm safe. No one is going to indict me for Croatia and Bosnia-Herzegovina. But once he lost the power in October 2000 and was transferred in The Hague only based on Kosovo indictment, that was in June 2001, prosecution expanded Kosovo indictment with 2 new indictments. One for the crimes in Croatia from 91 to 95, and one for crimes in Bosnia and Herzegovina that included the crime of genocide. And that was a major news, because the crime of genocide was first tried at individual level in relation to Yugoslav wars, but also the first genocide lawsuit against the state of Serbia in history of International Criminal Court here in The Hague as well, the highest UN court, was done against Serbia. So through Milosevic's indictment, the world actually understood that there is a way also to deal with the crime of genocide at individual level, at the level of president, and in the same time at the level of Serbia. And obviously the next question would be why there were no genocide charges for Kosovo in Milosevic's indictment at all. And this is something that his death and subsequent development of criminal law stopped any investigation in the facts and evidence for genocide in Kosovo in 1998 and 1999. Well, from legal perspective, it is really very, it would have been very important to have judgment and verdict against Milosevic, and I'll tell you why. Having black and white and rubber stamped in the language of law his personal responsibility would implicate also the Serbian military top much more to the criminality. And I think, and I'm quite sure of it, that it would have been much more difficult for Kosovo specialist chambers 20 years afterwards to indict Kosovo Liberation Army, UÇK leaders for the crimes in Kosovo. It would feel much more amoral, and it would feel out of reality compared with what Millosheviq's judgment as the head of the state of Serbia and later of Yugoslavia would contain in his judgment, because I do not think there is any doubt that from 66 counts in his indictment, he might not have been found guilty of all of them, but majority of them, and Kosovo indictment was very important. And that would cement the narrative of asymmetric responsibility in the wars, and asymmetric means that no other participants individually or as a state in the wars in former Yugoslavia had more proactive role and responsibility for violent disintegration and commission of crimes than Sllobodan Millosheviq, Serbian Yugoslav military, political and police stop, and eventually this will resonate on the responsibility of Serbia as a state.